Hi everybody, my name is Rizwan. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Brew Banter. There's been a long time since we've done one of those, but surprise, surprise, now we have Abdullah here in Karachi.
Guys.
So, new addition, a physical addition to the team. Today, what we are talking about is something that is a bit raw, a bit more, I think, uncomfortable, but really, really important. We're going to be talking about some things that, we've been doing this for a long time, and some of the work that we're doing, or at least the way we talk about our work, doesn't feel very authentic. There's always a clash between, how we tell the world what we do and what we actually do, and it feels really kind of like disconnected. So some work that we've done, we want to share the process of getting there and what we're going to be doing in the future.
And it's something that's not very easy to tell. So we've been talking about this amongst ourselves, amongst our team for a while now. And I think it's time that we try to put our thoughts, our words into, actions that we can share with the rest of the world.
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory. I don't know how many people know this. So Autonomous, we've been working since about 2017 with things really ramping up around 2021. So when we started Autonomous, we really wanted to bring in a culture of excellence. We wanted to bring in a culture of fun. Like, we wanted to be the team that you actually wanted to work with. Team that we actually wanted to work with more than just our clients. And we wanted to make everyone feel like that in Pakistan, we were here to do really, really good work, and we actually did that good work. And if we committed to something that we could do, we will say that, okay, yeah, we will do it and we'll get it done.
Yeah.
And we won't lie to our customers, for example, to say, okay, we will never say to them that we can do something that we can't do.
Exactly, yeah. And, there's a saying that, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, or some variation of that. And that's what we've also learned with our dealings from day one, right? We don't want to have hundreds of thousands of clients. We want to have a good set of a limited number of people that we work with, where their growth leads to our growth. And I'm very happy to say that, people we started working with from day one, we're still working with them, and they've grown tremendously. Tuning back a little bit, I think you touched upon this, is like excellence and creating value. And also fun. I think fun is also one of the most important factors. Fun for us, of course, because we are really passionate about what we do, but also for the client. It's not like, all numbers and all paperwork. It's like they should enjoy their lives, and they can rely on us to make their business and work and everything else in between better.
The biggest challenge throughout all of this is, how do we communicate that story that we're talking about through the internet? Right? We communicate those things once we have clients, they feel it. But someone who doesn't know us, how do they know that, Rizwan, Abdullah, Musfira, Hassan, all of the people that are working with us, that we are going to go above and beyond and do the best possible work that you can find, that we can possibly do. So that's always been a challenge. And one of the things was, we always tried to use words and techniques that everyone else was using, that we are digital solutions and we'll do web development and we make apps and we do freelancing and we do staff augmentation, etc., etc., etc. And we never really got any traction from that because, surprise, surprise, it wasn't authentic to us. So part of the conversation today is we want to switch the narrative from saying, yeah, we do app development and we do web development. Sure, we do that, but more so towards, look, there's a team of professionals here who really give a fuck about the work that we do. We really, really care. And not only that we're obsessed about it, we care about the outcomes that you need. We care about the consultative process. We care about best practices. We care about quality. And more so about our word is our bond, right? We care about these things. So we're taking that step, and we're going to talk about a little bit about how we got to, that realization, that process, to come up with these kind of authentic set of messages, values, and whatnot, and share those across, these few episodes.
So what really is authenticity, to us? What do we mean when we say, it feels or it doesn't feel authentic? There's many different avenues that we can talk about there, but I think genuinely like what matters to people here most is that first connection. When you meet someone for the first time, they have a requirement, they're trying to solve a problem, right? And trying to create value from that first moment you have that interaction, I think that has insane value. And then continuing that throughout your journey or throughout your contract with that person, I think that's what we try to do. We've been trying to do that since the beginning as well. Again, like adding more people, adding more resources to that equation, things start to get loose as it goes down the chain. But I think what we're trying to do is instill those values that we've learned over the years in our team and set processes and standards that can be defined as we grow and as we teach our people how we like to do business.
An example of that, right? Like when we do our kickoffs with clients, we always try to make it so that all all the developers, project managers, everyone who's involved actually shares a little bit about themselves, tries to come on camera. So there's a bit of a more personal connection there. And we try to bring our technical teams as part of the client conversations because we want them to be exposed to client feedback immediately. So it's just a small example.
Yeah. One thing that I found very odd, like given that our team is growing now, we interview lots of people, day to day for many different roles. And one thing we found, like a repetitive theme on a repetitive theme on how companies operate here. There's people who've worked on projects for years, but they don't even know who the client is, right? And they've done so much work for that person in the US or in Canada or in Germany, wherever, but they've never had a face-to-face. And like that was just bonkers to me, right? Like that's not how we operate. I think having that close connection and being upfront and being face-to-face with the people you work with brings tremendous value because a lot of the stuff, a lot of the context or a lot of the values get lost in, putting notes on a paper or passing it down to like your team or whatnot. So
yeah, it is important to do some of that sometimes for, scalability, but at the same time, how will you get, a developer who is sitting across the planet to actually care about the work? And we really believe, like at least for me and you, that we get really inspired by the people that we work with, the problems that they're trying to solve. And nobody can communicate that better than the person themselves, like the client. So that's why we like to really, keep people close, get them interactive. Maybe not all the time, but like have that kind of consistently. I think another example of like I always like to say is really care about the work. And what does that actually mean? Like give an example, we work with a D2C commerce company and there's a lot of fast-paced innovation that happens there, but obviously with innovation, bugs also happen. So, our front-end team is available in the middle of the night if emergencies happen, or weekends. We have an emergency line, for example, with a client, where they can be like, hey, there's an emergency. And this is not something that we've instituted. Literally, we didn't tell our developer that, oh yeah, you need to be available. Seth, who's one of our developers here, he proactively actually cares so much about the project that even before I can say, hey, Seth, can you take a look at it? He's just like, hey, I'm already on it. So just part of some of the things that we do here to really show.
And it's great to see that, the type of culture and the type of values we're trying to instill, they're being picked up by our people. And that has you feel great when you see that in action.
It's fine, Musfira, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a team that we've built with a lot of care and attention. We've invested a lot of time in picking these people that are handpicked for our team.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's why we, our vetting process, it's really long. If we tell other companies who are doing something in our industry in here, our lead time is 2 months or 3 months for getting a good person. So there's reasons behind that, right? We have all of those processes and the interviews and that final piece.
Vibe check.
Vibe check, yeah. No, culture fit. Like vibe check.
Vibe check.
Kind of.
Fit.
Yeah, same thing. And then that really matters, right? Because I think technical skills can still be taught, but if someone has a very different mindset, or if they operate in a very different way, they wouldn't be able to fit in, or they wouldn't be able to like communicate the values that we are trying to communicate to the world.
Yeah. So part of the journey to come to these, to be able to communicate these shared values, is actually codifying them. And we didn't want them to just be top down, as most companies would do. Of course, as founders and as senior leadership, we can be the core, and our values could be the ones that get defined across the organization. But again, that didn't feel like that was the right thing to do for us. That didn't feel very authentic. So what we did, we actually got the whole team together, and we did a whole day session to talk about, what are we trying to do, sharing everyone's stories, why do they care, what do they not want to happen at the company. And that's why one of the examples that Abdullah gave, that developers didn't even have a connection, but in fact, they went as far as to said that, this is the first company some of them had ever worked in, and some of these guys have like 5-10 years of experience. This is the first company that they've ever worked with where they actually even got to use their real name in front of the client, right? Because otherwise they would just be operating under, I'm Jacob from Pennsylvania or whatever. That's very common here in Pakistan, in this industry. So there's a lot of these kind of stories, or over micromanagement as one thing. Or another example that came across was them saying that we don't just say yes and then try to make it happen when we can't do something, right? We're not really yes men. We're not particularly just saying, if it's impossible, or we encourage our people to push back if it's unreasonable for the client to do some things. So those are some of the stories that came out.
Yeah, saying no is hard for people, right? I think especially for developers, like, they all have different personalities, they all come from different backgrounds. So for a lot of them, saying no is considered like it's a bad thing, right? And that's something we try to instill as well, that, use your brain, critically think about a problem. Not saying that, just say no because you're lazy and don't do it, but assess the problem, do some research, talk to your peers, see if there's a specific problem, see what's being done in the industry, or like what the best practices are around that, and then just communicate that openly and honestly to the client or to the partner, whoever you're dealing with. So I think, that has tremendous value.
We challenge them. We challenge ourselves, we challenge our developers, we challenge our clients. Because often, going down, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary solution, is something that I read the other day. And that's very true in technology. So we always like to push back and say, okay, is this the right thing to do? As an agency, of course, your incentives are to just do the work. So
yeah, and another example I think is, so I guess two things. Like first is, so what you were saying earlier about that collective process, not just top down, but also bottom up. We have company-wide team norms, and then we have project-specific or team-specific team norms. And those are not something that we've passed down and we say that, hey, you need to follow these. Those are something that we've built over the years with our developers, with our the greater team. And every time there's something that comes up in a meeting that everyone's like, oh, this is something we should put in our team norms, we immediately go to that doc and put it in there, so that everyone in the company knows what exactly those norms are. And then the other thing I think is like going the extra mile, right? Usually like the clients, well, not most, but greater percentage of founders, non-technical founders, when they come to us, they don't even know what's possible, right? They've probably done some research, watched some videos, read up online that, hey, if I use Lovable and put in some prompts, I can make a website and it works, right? But what happens to that app after it takes off? Who takes care of, maintenance? Who provides support? Who fixes that tiny little button that's not fixing in that container? So all of those things, those are like the bigger pieces of, this work that we do, which are more important.
One thing I want to get back to is, when we had the session with the team, it was a 2-3 hour session, and while we took the conversation, it was supposed to be focused about what do we tell the world, but it quickly shifted to a very human conversation about how our people feel. And what was really interesting, surprising, and inspiring for me was how every person in the team talked about how they love working here because we don't micromanage their work. And why that's important to them is because it allows them to be creative, allows them to do their best work, and at the same time, obviously, because we are providing people's talent and their time to our customers, that impacts the work that we do for our clients.
Absolutely. And I think oftentimes it's very easy to, because given the experience that we have and the nature of our work, it's very easy to jump in and do the work for them. But having having that that the ability and the patience to let the team struggle a little bit and learn things their own way, I think that really allows them to grow. And I found that to be very difficult in the beginning because it was always easy to just go in and do it myself.
Yeah.
But over time, I've also learned that giving the team to put their heads together, figure out a problem, and then solve it in their own ways, that's the long-term goal that we have for their growth.
The key value, and we're still figuring out how we tell this story, that came across from it is that we're a very honest company. Maybe too honest sometimes, but honesty and transparency is like very, very core to not just us, but our team. They care about the fact that we communicate things as they are. We focus on consulting, and we are transparent. So over the next year or so, we're going to be doing more work on showing you guys how we work, what we do, who we are, kind of shenanigans that we get up to, as well as the kind of hardcore technical stuff that we're doing with AI or big data engineering or Shopify e-commerce stores, or even sometimes just helping someone set up a company in another country. So.
Yeah, we want to show that behind the scenes we are all real people and we all have personalities, and we all want the people we work with to grow and succeed.
Yeah, especially our customers. So
you keep it professional, but then become the best friend.
Yeah, then we take over your lives. This feels very scary. And my team, especially Basra, keep asking us, like, why does it feel so scary? And why is it so uncomfortable, right? And for me personally, it's very, very uncomfortable because we're making the effort to really put ourselves out there. This is kind of, warts and all. So what that means is that if this doesn't work, then we got nothing else. This is who we are, this is what we do. We're flawed and all, we really care about the work. We make mistakes sometimes, but we own up to them. But above all, we want to do really, really good work and do it out of the country that we're from. We want to do it out of Pakistan. We work with predominantly Pakistani people. As our team, we will have teams that are near shore, but we want to show the world that there are good people here. They're good at what they do, and we can showcase that by being honest and professional, transparent, and creative and committed. Not scary for you at all.
No, Pakistanis, it's funny that you bring that up. Pakistan has great talent, but I think the one thing that they lack is how do they present themselves to the world. And given our experience,
we have that problem too.
Yeah,
that's why we're doing this.
But no, given our experience of working for international companies and being in Canada for a long period of time, we want to instill those values and help train people here in Pakistan, so that we can show to the world that we're on par with the West, and we can do as great work as they do at half the cost.
Yeah. So, talking about next steps, what does it mean for people watching? You can expect a lot more of us being real, raw, maybe funny, goofy, and showing our personality, our work to you. Really focusing on kind of who we are and why do we work. And then we can tell you a lot about what we do. And I'm just going to kind of plug that in, right? We are an honest, transparent, committed, professional outsourcing company, right? And we build, e-commerce stores. We do technology consulting. We build applications, data pipelines, and really are starting to focus in on AI-driven automation. But all of that is just words. Those things change over time. At the core, we are the last technical team and last technical partner that you're ever going to need for the rest of your life.
Word.
Give us.
ठीक ठाक है आप
चलो मैं जा रहा हूँ.